I'll stand and give the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Cindy, can I have roll call, please?
Counselor Abels. Counselor Dunsmuir.
Here.
Counselor Gates. Counselor Spangler. Counselor Strobel.
Here.
Counselor Tenbush.
Here.
Mayor Drinkwine.
Here, thank you. Okay, we're at the first opportunity for citizen and community group comments. So I think you said that Joel Lucky would like to speak on that, so we'll start with that one.
Yes, and I've got Joel here.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Basically, I just wanted to kind of bring up some of the concerns that were expressed over the week from citizens throughout the community, and that has to do with some of the transient indecent exposures across the city and some of their actions recently. And so after doing some research on it, I looked at what our city charter has on there, and it looks like we follow basically what the outline of what the ORS statutes are, and that's if you want to look them up, there's a couple different ones we follow. But basically, it's pretty broad when it comes down to indecent exposure, and it pretty much limits it to if there's a sexual act to it, that becomes a crime. Otherwise, nudity and stuff in public is not necessarily identified as a crime. And so I'm bringing this forward to something so that we can look at possibly as a city, if you guys could potentially review putting some laws in place that have to do with indecent exposure or nudity within the city limits, so that we don't have people using the city fountain as a shower, don't have them doing, defecating on the side of the buildings and stuff, as we've had reported and stuff, doing other things in the memorial that we've caught them doing. So there's been some issues, and as the community watch president, I've been asked to come forward and bring those to you guys, to at least take a look at that and see what we might be able to do as far as it comes to laws, because without the laws behind it, as you know, law enforcement has harder times to address these if there's no city laws for them to enforce it behind, because then they have to fall back to whatever might be in the county or the state statutes. So, and that's pretty much what I wanted to bring up with you. I'm sure some of you guys have seen it on Facebook and things, some of the concerns. So, and that's pretty much what I wanted to bring up to you guys.
Okay, well, we thank you for that. And I think that's something we'll talk about and see if there's something we can do as a city. And we'll get back to you at a later date. Would that be okay?
Yep, definitely. Of course. I appreciate you guys taking the time to listen and taking that into consideration.
Hey, thank you very much for bringing that forward. Do we have any more waiting to speak?
Nope, I don't see anybody else.
Okay, we will move along to the consent agenda. You've all had a chance to read it. The parking lot looks great. We thank you very much. You did a great job. They really made that look good over there. I think that's what the seal coat is all about. Is that right, Denise?
No, that's a crack sealing that we do every year where if you go around town, you'll see the dark patches where on newer roads, it's starting to crack, and you seal that, and then it improves the length of the roads too. Yeah.
Well, that's well needed.
And just a really quick question I had about the crack ceiling. Is there a reason that we only received one of the bids instead of receiving all the bids and just going with the one that was chosen? I just want to be able to see the bids in the future would be nice. So I just want to throw that out there.
On the purchase order, it states that none of them were responsive.
So at the bottom.
See, it didn't say that. What it said was that they were contacted, and then the Seal Coat Specialties was the low bidder. So it didn't say that they were non-responsive.
So on the next page, the actual purchase order, if you look at the bottom, it shows all quotes.
Oh, okay.
There, that's where you'll find those.
Perfect. Thank you for pointing that out. I'm
Okay.
glad that that's there. Thank you.
Any more questions on the consent agenda? No? Can I have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor. Can I have a second, please?
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thank you. Okay, we were at department and committee reports. First, I have the Clackamas County Sheriff's Office report. You've all had a chance to read that. I read it. It looks pretty good in our community. I'm happy to see that. Are there any questions on that before I move on?
Yeah, I do have a quick question about that one. Have we yet approached the Clackamas County Sheriff's Office to ask for any demographics information as it relates to the support?
Yeah, they're gonna be coming, the chief is gonna be doing a workshop with you guys in September and talk about everything they do and what you guys wanna see and if they can do that and what training they're doing. He's gonna go over the whole gambit of things they do.
Oh,
And
fantastic.
And then at the same time, we're trying to schedule the lady that's in charge of the Neighborhood Watch program at the Sheriff's Department to come too, so she can talk about her program. So I'm hoping the second, probably towards the end of September, but we'll set up a workshop for that so we can ask questions.
Okay, good. And that would probably be the most appropriate time to ask them about like the possibility of putting demographic information. I was wondering if they'd even been approached and what their reaction might have been, but we can save it for the workshop we have with them.
Yeah, we did talk about it at our contract meeting a couple weeks ago. And so he's gonna check into it so he'll have some answers when he gets to you guys.
Fantastic. Thank you very much,
Okay.
Penny.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, any other questions to that? No? All right, the next is our committee, commission, and liaison reports. Usually I have C4, but this time I did not go to C4. The alternate did, so I will let her speak to the C4.
I gave that update at the last meeting,
Yes.
and so we are actually going to be talking about the letters that I brought up last time as being letters of support that the C4 was sending around to their membership, and so that's what we'll be talking about later is that letter. But yeah, I gave that update at our last meeting.
All right, great. Thank you. And then Jerry, do you have anything? No? Paul, anything?
Nope, nothing for me. Do we have any open committees, anything that I could be assigned to, or?
We do. We have Parks and Rec has an opening and
Planning Commission.
yeah.
Library too?
Downtown Estacada Commission.
I think library has someone covering it. Which other one, Katie?
So I know that Parks and Rec,
Planning?
Planning, and Downtown Estacada Commission.
I think Justin's on the Downtown Estacada Commission.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's been doing our daytime ones, I know. I'll look at that. So Parks and Rec and Planning, or Parks and Rec would be a good one, Paul, but they really need someone on there.
They really do need a liaison. If you can take Parks and Recreation, I've been approached by some members of the Parks and Recreation Committee, and they do want to have an active liaison attending their meetings. If you can take that on, that would be of tremendous help.
Yeah,
I can't
do you
take that
know,
one.
It's
do
the
we know when we
fourth,
meet?
yeah, it's the fourth Thursday of the month at 7 o'clock.
Okay,
Parks and Rec, Denise says Wednesday.
Oh, Wednesday, fourth Wednesday. Sorry.
okay.
I'm happy to
So
fill
what-
in any other ones as well, so add me to
Okay.
that list.
I will send both of you the list and the days that they are meeting, and then you can get back to me. That would be
Okay, yeah,
perfect.
great.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you, guys. Appreciate that. City managers report.
I just have a short one. We're wrapping up a lot of projects here at the end of the summer, but just to let you know that building permits are still up. And I talked to the building department, and we're I think they work for about 60 cities in the state, and we're the booming city for those. So I just wanted to let you know those are still going. The LOC legislative priorities came out. I think everyone probably got an email about that. Paul and Kimberly, I'm hoping that you guys have made the list to be getting all the notifications from LOC, no?
I did not get one.
Okay. And a number of ours were approved as some of those adopted. They combined a few of them, especially the infrastructure ones. They combined them into one big one because there was a large response for that. We have our engineers working on the wastewater treatment facility plan, and that is going to be wrapped up here shortly. So we'll be able to talk about siting our treatment plant. And we had the election, the people to apply for council is passed. And so just have one person running for mayor, the present mayor.
Yep.
And we have 3 people running for the 3 council positions. So it looks like we pretty much know who's gonna be on the council next year. So that's kind of exciting. So we can do some planning. And that's
Denise-
about part.
So sorry, I don't want to interrupt. How quickly will those names be published, out of curiosity?
Well, geez, I think the newspaper will probably start doing art things about the election soon. I mean, it's public information right now. I'm not sure when all the stuff comes out for the election, the ballots and the book and stuff, but Sadie, what are the names? You know everyone.
Yeah, Paul Strobel
Mhm.
and Charity Hughes, who you interviewed before, and Joel Lidkey, who just spoke.
Yep. And
Wonderful.
Charity and Joel are both on, so it's kind of nice
Yeah, are
to
you
know
guys freezing
because
up?
then, pardon? It's kind of nice to know because then you can, they have 4 months now to see what's going on before they get
Yeah.
on. That's nice.
Is your guys' computer freezing up a little bit, or is it just mine?
I think it's just yours.
And that's all I had.
Okay, well, thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, we are now at the public hearing. So I will close the city council meeting and open the public hearing. So I will now close the city council meeting and open the public hearing on annexation application 2020-001. And do any member of the council wish to abstain or declare ex parte? No? Okay. The council will now hear the staff report on the proposal.
Alrighty, that's my cue. So I don't know if there was maybe a typo in the notice or in the packet, but it's 2020-02 annex, and it's the proposal for a bunch of land in northern Estacada. I should be sharing my screen. There we go. All right. Can everyone see a PowerPoint presentation right now? Okay, that's good. Okay. So this application went to Planning Commission on August 6th, and they forwarded this recommendation for the City Council to consider tonight. The applicant's request is the annexation of a total of about 160 acres, 11 different properties, and actually 6 different property owners. Some of those properties are zoned Clackamas County Rural Residential Farm Forest, and some of them are zoned EFU, Exclusive Farm Use. The applicant is not proposing any change to the zoning designations that are already established in the comprehensive plan map. The only reason that we have to notice this to the state and consider it a change to the comp plan map is that the line that delineates city limits changes place on the map. There's no subdivision or development proposed included with this annexation request, but we do know that some of the parcels are being annexed with intent to eventually subdivide and develop, of course. At the same time, the city is proposing the annexation of the adjacent right-of-way only those rights of way that are within the UGB, of course. So there's adjacent right of way on Eagle Creek, Deuce, Cemetery, and I realized this wasn't included in the last presentation, so I added Southeast Wren Road. Denise, feel free to chime in. I can't remember if there was some confusion at the county about whether or not that right of way was already annexed, but just in case, I figured let's include it here to make sure that we are good to go with requesting all of those
Right.
rights of way. All right, here's the list of applicants. For the purpose of this discussion, we might consider Bill Highlands as kind of the primary applicant here. He initiated the proposal and sort of gathered together all of the other applicants to put this proposal together. And so here's a aerial view map of all of the 11 different properties included in the application, outlined in yellow and labeled with their tax lot number. We can go back to this map at any time if we need. Okay, like I said, several of the properties are currently rural residential and a few are exclusive farm use. Service considerations, city sewer will be available actually at some of these properties with the extension of the Rivermill sewer line. As for everything else, city services are available as is normal within the UGB. And here we can see the comp plan designations for each of the properties proposed for annexation. Excitingly, several of the properties are in some of those new zones that you all approved in March. So the orange line is that new North City residential zone, this light blue being the central mixed use, and then red over here with the highway commercial. A couple of them are low density residential, R1. And then here are the adjacent rights of way that are included in the proposal. Like I just mentioned, we didn't note in the previous presentation that this Wren Road right of way may or may not already be annexed. I feel like maybe Denise or I had some conversation with folks at the county about some discrepancy about whether or not this piece of Wren Road is within city limits. So for the purpose of this conversation, we would propose to annex that right of way if the council approves. And then where Wren Road connects down here, can you all see my cursor? Okay, where it connects down here was just recently annexed along with the Valley View. So that would just make a seamless connection there for Wren Road if it's not already recorded as within city limits at the county. And then just the other note about the right-of-way being annexed. Half of Deuce Road, so at the center line, that's where our UGB is. So obviously we're not including any proposal to expand the UGB here. So we would just be annexing that southern side of Deuce, pretty much just so that when development occurs there, the road gets improved to our standards. The other note to make while we're looking at this map, all of this tan area is what is already incorporated into the city. And then the white sections are unincorporated area, with the green being what's proposed in the application, and the pink, the right-of-way that's proposed for annexation. You can see on this map, there are already some islands or enclaves of unincorporated area in the city. And if this application is approved as proposed, we would be creating a couple more islands like this one right here. Technically, if we do the right-of-way annexation, then this one would technically become an island of unincorporated area. The city does have an old policy discouraging the creation of those islands, but we have had a number of conversations, maybe more, maybe you all have had more of those conversations too before I came on, but discussions about whether or not that is an outdated policy. And so I talked with the county planner, Glenn Hamburg, who most of you probably remember, and just asked him for some information about what is normal among, local jurisdictions in the county, and kind of why we might want to or not want to maintain that policy. And so these were some notes from him that basically make it sound like not a big deal to create those enclaves of unincorporated area. But I'll just go through them real quick. So basically, according to Glenn, it sounds like almost every city in the county has these enclaves within their city limits. These specific islands that would be created with this proposal are not engaged in any land uses that would be, detrimental or conflicting with what's being proposed or the anticipated future development. As we already do, we are planning streets and building streets, assuming that everything within the UGB will eventually come into city limits. So we're already doing that. There could, I guess, maybe he noted this because some jurisdictions may have that, or we may have that old policy to avoid having to coordinate with the county when there's, a property that fronts, a property within the city that fronts county, a county road or vice versa. But we already coordinate with the county on a number of properties and issues like that. So that's something we already do. It's not very difficult. And it's worked fine so far. He's not aware of any issues, and I'm not aware, nor was Denise aware of any issues with these enclaved parts of the county being within city limits previously. And like I said before, I'll go back to that map. The city has already created a number of these kind of enclaves or islands in the past without concerns that came to our attention. So like you can see here, and there's some areas that are outside of this picture, but kind of down on Copeland Road, there's another one. So those are some thoughts from Glenn. I don't know if you want to chime in at all here, Denise, with your opinion.
Nope, I think Glenn covered it like he always does.
Okay. And then the second thing to note, or the second, I guess, testimony that we might want to talk about, the Housing Land Advocates and Fair Housing Council of Oregon submitted a letter that essentially was calling for the city to halt the approve or wait to approve this application until we make some more solid findings based on our HNA, Housing Needs Analysis. That is what the statewide Planning Goal 10 housing calls for jurisdictions to do whenever there is a land use application related to residential lands. Our HNA, the last time we did a full HNA was in 1979, and it was projecting to the year 2000. Last year, we participated in the county's regional HNA, and so that housing memo that we got out of that, that's what they would call a baseline or preliminary HNA, but it is not intended to constitute a full HNA. It's supposed to serve as like a starting point for us to do our own Estacada specific HNA. So essentially, the state has this requirement that we, reference our HNA anytime anytime there's a, land use decision related to residential land, but we don't have I mean, functionally, we don't have an HNA to reference. It would not be appropriate to use data from 1979. And the 2019 HNA, we should still, of course, take it into account, but it is not full enough to constitute what the state actually considers an HNA. All that to say, I certainly don't think that's any reason to wait on issuing a decision on this application. This application is not actually changing the amount of land that is zoned for residential uses or the types of residential uses allowed. Like I said, it's just changing the line on the map that the comp plan map was already approved by the state for these types of residential uses. So if we were rezoning something, then we would have to make much more substantial findings related to an HNA. But because we're not doing that, I would say that's not much of a concern. But I'm just bringing this to, basically responding to those comments that they submitted with, yes, I agree with you. We should definitely be looking more meaningfully at our housing needs, and we should be doing that in the form of completing a full housing needs analysis. Oh, that's blurry, but basically this is just a screenshot of the housing memo, the 2019 housing memo, and the section that essentially just says this is a preliminary housing needs assessment. It is not meant to serve as your full HNA. It's supposed to be a starting point for you, the city, to complete your own full HNA. And then last note on that, and then I'll step down from that soapbox. Technical assistant grants are offered from the state to complete housing needs analyses on a biennial cycle. So the next round of applications will open in 2021. So at that point, we can revisit that and look at whether the city wants to update its super old HNA. Okay. All right, so moving along, the conditions of approval that were recommended in the staff report and by the Planning Commission for the property to be annexed, essentially just the annexation will include these properties listed out by tax lots. The property will be zoned as is designated in the comprehensive plan map. The city will update the map to reflect that. And the property owners would sign a waiver of remonstrance to dedicate right-of-way and other road and sidewalk improvements that the city requires to serve that future development. And then I added a note down here. In the event that, say, the council is concerned about the creation of those islands of unincorporated area and wants to avoid that, we can absolutely approve the annexation of some of these properties and not approve other properties that were included in the proposal. So in the event that that you wanted to exclude any properties from the approval, we would just edit this first condition of approval to only reflect the ones that are approved. And same thing for the sections of right-of-way. If there's a section of right-of-way that the council did not want to annex, then we could just change that condition of roadway approval. So condition number 1 are the parts of roadway that are included in the approval. We would change this also to include that Wren Road, just in case it is not yet annexed into the city. Double check with the county on that. We would, of course, get approval from the county to annex that area. Essentially, all of these are administrative I'm not going to read through all of them, but if anyone wants to ask questions about them, they can. And I think that's it for my part of the presentation.
Taylor?
Yeah.
Did the planning commission, what were the planning commission comments about the enclaves?
Yeah, all but one, and I actually forget, I'm sorry, I forget who it was who was concerned. Essentially, they all had no issues with them except one who expressed previously, like on past applications, he has wanted to avoid creating those islands, but then after hearing Glenn's explanation of what other jurisdictions do and all of the reasons why it doesn't seem like it will cause issues, he felt comfortable approving it.
Okay, thank you.
I think you're muted, Sean. I see you talking, but I don't hear you.
There, how's that? Can you
There
hear
we
me
go.
now? All right. All right, so that's good. You did a great job presenting there. You want to take the PowerPoint off? Is it still on? I'm still got it on my screen.
Yep.
Okay, there we go. And then we'll go to gallery. For some reason, computer's acting up tonight. All right. Is there any correspondence regarding the application?
None since those two exhibits 15 and 16 that were submitted before the Planning Commission hearing.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right, I will now read a statement about evidence presented at the hearing. An issue which may be the basis for an appeal to LUBA must be raised prior to the close of the record of the final eventuary hearing on the specific application. Such issue shall be raised with sufficient specificity so as to afford LUBA and the parties an adequate opportunity to respond to each issue. Failure of an issue to be raised at the hearing in person or by letter, or failure to provide sufficient specificity to afford LUBA and the parties an adequate opportunity to respond to the issue precludes appeal to LUBA on that issue. Okay, now would the applicant please come to the microphone to make any comments? Is the applicant here?
I've got a raised hand from Jan Taylor. Is she the applicant? One of the
Yep.
applicants?
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
Okay, I'm going to bring Jan into the meeting.
Okay, great. She's got her mute on, and she.
Yep, Jan, there you go. Go ahead, Jan.
Is she hearing us?
I'm not sure. Jan, are you there?
She must have lost the connection.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's happening. Okay, I'll move along to Bill Highlands.
Okay.
Okay, Bill, if you can unmute.
Now you can hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, my internet connection is unstable, it says. Anyway, I thank you for your consideration of this. The city sewer line has gone through my property. It's almost through Chris Lou's property. It's now going through John Dansel's property heading for Holt Group. And this will open up the city to development on that side. There needs to be another sewer line further north while you consider the wastewater treatment plant. And I'd be interested in what the cost of housing needs analysis is. It seems like, 41 years is long long enough to wait to update it. So that's it.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Is Jan still off or is she able to come back on?
Jan, are you able to unmute and speak?
She just muted again, so maybe she just needs to turn her volume up on her speakers, because that's what happened to me. Jan, you might want to see if you can turn your volume up on your speakers.
No. I think she's going to get on there.
Is it possible for her to get on, to call in? Maybe she doesn't have a microphone for her computer, because it looks like she's logged in through a computer.
Yeah, Jan, if you want to call in, I'll watch for your number to come in and bring you into the meeting.
Is she dialing in?
I'm not sure. I don't see her coming in yet.
Well, we probably should move this along. I don't think we're getting too far here. But it sounds like, well, from what I hear from Highland, they're on board with this. He sounded like he was in favor of. I really would like to get some other speakers here, but I guess we're not going to get that. So moving along, the counselors, do you have any questions for anybody on there? If you can get them. No?
I just have a really quick question for Taylor. Maybe she's got the answer.
Okay.
Are any of these properties currently on the real estate market for sale?
I have no idea.
Oh, okay. That was my only question. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions? No? Okay.
I got a question. I was
Okay,
just curious, with the parcels that were being annexed, and then some of the ones, it looks like some outliers, some corner spaces that were not, do we know why? Is it just those property owners did not want to be annexed at this time? Maybe they weren't approached, something like that. Just some insight.
Yeah, I'd say it's a combination of those things.
I'm frozen up.
Uh-oh. Generally, annexations are owner initiated. So if the owner doesn't initiate the annexation application, then they just, they don't annex their property. In this case, all of these different owners were included because, like I said, Bill kind of, went out and approached people to annex. I don't know who all, I don't have a list of who all he approached or, who all turned him down, basically. And so I do imagine that, yeah, some people just don't want to come into city limits. And so they were, didn't want to opt in to that. And then I imagine that there are probably some people who just weren't aware that it was happening, maybe until it was too late, the public notice had gone out, and maybe would have jumped on board, but just didn't know that it was happening. But yeah, maybe Denise, you could speak to any other instances where the city or someone else would initiate the annexation, but as far as I'm concerned, it's usually just up to the property owner if they want to annex.
Yeah. And I'm not sure who he approached either, but it's a lot easier to annex. One of the rules is you have to be touching the city. So now these ones that are out there, it's going to be a lot easier for them to annex if they decide they want to come in. So.
Okay. So does the staff or the applicant have any additional comments or questions or anything? Good. Okay. At this time, I will now, what was that? Nothing? Okay. At this time, we'll now close the public hearing and open the city council. Okay, we're back in the city council. let me see. Then no, we need to vote on this. So I'm calling for a vote on this. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. I will call for a, go ahead, Jay.
I move to approve Annex Application 2020-02 Annex as staff recommends.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
For first and second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, staff. You did a great job. Okay, moving on to council business. We have a letter to C4. This involved me from a while ago. I had a discussion with Denise on the C4. I personally, not you, did not agree with the C4's recommendation for the I-205 expansion. I felt that it was not everything it should have been. I mean, I thought we should have strengthened the east and the west connections to relieve some of the pressure versus doing most of the repairs that they're going to do to the I-205 for the future, which in my books, a lot of those repairs weren't needed. But it is not just me who makes that decision. It's you. So I want the council to hear what Katie Dinsmeyer referring to on the C4 as far as a note of support. So I'll let her speak to that. Go ahead,
Well, yeah, so really, this just really goes to whether or not we want the I-5 project to take precedent, I'm sorry, the I-205 project to take precedence over the I-5 project and as it relates to funding. And also, I mean, really, I'd like to go through some of this letter in particular. I'm surprised that this is the letter that made it into here because the email that I had forwarded had actually 4 letters. This is probably not the one I would have chosen, or we can go through and edit some of these. If maybe we have a workshop on the 31st, maybe we can talk about it really quickly to actually go through and edit this a little bit. I would like our city to be able to send some sort of a letter to our local representatives at the state level at ODOT and serving on all the transportation committees and whatnot in Salem, and express a couple of different things. First of all, that it is a priority for Estacada, that 205 become a priority over I-5 as it relates to funding from the state. And then 2, I think that we should actually, as a city, determine what our stance is on the tolling and all of the tolling bids that are currently out there from ODOT and other related agencies. As a person, I don't support the tolling. As someone who talks with a lot of Estacada residents, I don't think anyone here really wants to see tolling. For a lot of people like us, that's our one and only way to get over the Willamette River in our county without having to go as far into Portland. So that being said, it really is something that I want to talk a little bit more about as a council. I don't know if this is the letter I probably would have chosen to support though. But this is one of the drafts of letters that the C4 committee has drafted to be able to send to our representatives. So yeah, I'll let you take it from here, Sean, or Mr. Mayor.
Okay. My question to you, council, is how do you feel about this? So that's kind of where we're at right now is, do we send a support letter for the I-205 or do we not send a letter back saying, hey, we don't support the method in which you're going about this right now. Let's rethink this. I mean, what do you think? So start opening it up for questions. So let's start off, Paul, we'll start off with you.
So essentially, it sounds like what we're talking about is sending in our support to say I-205 project over the I-5 project. I mean, that's the basics, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and is from an Estacada standpoint, I don't know, to me that seems appropriate. It seems I'm all in favor of that. The letter that was included in here, that was the toll one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, I thought it was a good letter. I like that they brought up alternatives to the toll process. I really did not have a problem with that at all. I'm kind of with you there about prefer not to see tolls out there. And I haven't talked with a lot of people, but the couple of folks that I've spoke with agreed with that as well too.
Okay, thank you. Jerry, let's go to you.
I basically just everything that Paul said. That's basically what I was going to say anyhow. So I agree. We do need to send a letter saying that we, support I-205 over I-5. That's our responsibility to our citizens. But I also think that we, need to have a larger conversation about this, maybe at our workshop.
Okay. Kimberly, sorry.
Yeah, I guess one of my biggest questions would be for Councilor Dunsmuir, and what are the key differences in the other letters that are not in this one that you think would be better served? I don't know if that's a question for our workshop, or I just want to make sure there's not something we're missing, having not seen the other 3 letters.
I'll tell you what, Denise, do you mind forwarding the email that I sent you from the C4 from Trent and just send it all to everybody? And then that way they can all read all 4 of the letters. And when we present them or when we talk about it at the workshop, that everybody's already read through them all.
Yeah, I just sent it.
Great,
Perfect.
thank you.
Okay. Katie, I'd let you speak again, but you've already spoken on it. So I think the idea is that we're going to go to the workshop, have a smaller discussion on this, and see if we can put it together and send it out. Is that right? Is that what I'm receiving here? Okay.
So we'll add that to Monday's workshop
Okay.
so we can
That
get
would be
it
great.
done
Yeah, let's add it
before
on to
the-
Monday's workshop.
before the deadline. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So thank you. We appreciate that. Now we're at council rules of discussion, and this is kind of addressed to you, Katie, so I will let you take it away.
Yeah, an email that I privately sent to the manager is probably not how I would have chosen to present this to the council, but I've had a lot of people approaching me, especially as we've gone to Zoom, to talk about how some of our meetings, a portion of us are blacked out. And I have been guilty of it at a meeting or two to black myself out during certain points. And I've taken those comments to heart. So that being said, I started noticing what a lot of other people, a lot of other counselors, a lot of our councils and a lot of organizations are doing. As a person, personally, I am recently divorced. It's all done now. Congratulate me later. But I did have to take a parenting class because my divorce involved minors. And one of the things that the court required was for me to be on camera the entire time because that was their way of showing that I was actively participating. On a second note, I also had an employee that took a required training that was a certification class. And in order to receive the certification, he was also required to be on screen the entire time. So that seems to be a really common practice that a lot of other people and a lot of organizations, especially legal organizations, are starting to adopt as their own common practice. I think it makes a lot of sense, especially because when we really dig down deep into it, my most important core belief is in open government. I think that our citizens have a right to see their government functioning in front of them. And sometimes that does include being visible to them. They need to be able to see us. They need to be able to watch us participating and actively engaged in discussion. That being said, thinking back to how we also ran our council in the past, before COVID and before Zoom, it seemed that we allowed for call-ins, which talking with some of the other people that I've known in government, it sounds like call-in is somewhat a touchy subject. And it sounds like the majority of the time a call-in is only really allowed or seen as acceptable if it was solely to create a quorum. So if we only had 3 people present, but we need 4 people in order to conduct business, that the 4th person may be allowed a call in. But otherwise, being present is the only word that is used in our own city's charter. And I would like to see that the word present be a little more clearly defined as being physically present. And in the event of digital technology, that means you're on camera. And I just think that that is something that we owe our citizens. And I think that it's kind of a no-brainer. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk to you guys about tonight. Again, this email is probably not the way I would have chosen to present this to you, but that's what I've got. So I'm stuck with it. If you have
Okay.
any questions for me, I'm
Thank you,
happy for
Katie.
it.
Are there any questions for Katie on this?
I will
from the
say
coun-
that
Go ahead, Denise.
Sadie is working on some updates to the council rules and policies because a lot of cities have been updating this because of Zoom and how things are changing. So even Sadie has been working on it. She's been so busy, she hasn't been able to quite get it done, but she is working on that. And that's one section. We'll be putting a new section in about these type of meetings and
Okay.
call-in meetings and that type of thing. So
All right.
we can
you,
address
Dee.
that there. If you want, further guidance, let us know though.
Okay, thank you, Denise. Jerry?
So I'm gonna try not to be argumentative or anything. So I don't actually have a problem with a call-in to a council meeting, like before when a counselor wasn't able to be there. I'd rather have their opinions there on the phone than not have them there at all. I'd rather have them their voice be heard rather than not have them there at all. There are occasions where counselors aren't going to be able to be present, aren't going to be able to be at the meetings physically or via digital technology. Might have to call in on a landline. I don't actually have a problem with call-ins, and some people, in certain circumstances, don't have the technology there to be on camera. So I don't see an issue.
Okay.
Thank you.
Jerry. Kimberly?
Yeah, I'm going back and forth because I see the value of having faces on camera and being able to kind of connect as much as we can. But I also don't want us to set up an inequitable barrier for counselors in the future who don't have don't maybe not have that as strong of that internet connection that can sustain video, or if somebody's traveling but you want to be able to call in for the council meeting. I have a problem with having it be a requirement, but I wouldn't be opposed to strongly requesting that folks be on camera if at all possible. But if not, calling in, not just for quorum, but if I just have an issue with if I don't have my video camera on or I don't have the ability to use it, but I'm a counselor, that I cannot call into the city council meeting.
Okay.
Before we
Thank
go
you,
to
Kim.
another speaker, I'd like to address something that's now come up twice when it comes to the technology. And, well, what if they don't have technology to call in? Well, what if they don't have this, that, or the other thing? We, as a city, do provide an iPad to our counselors. And that's what I use to call in now. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't personally have the technology to be able to participate in the Zoom meetings. But we do, as a city, already combat that barrier for our counselors. So that barrier does not exist. But
the internet barrier might, and
So
the strong enough signal might be a barrier.
So I'll tell you right now, I have the worst internet possible in the city of Estacada, and I am able to call in. And if for any reason I was not able to call in, there are plenty of places inside of the city of Estacada that offer free Wi-Fi.
Okay. So I wasn't going to go here. I wasn't. But I am now. So the person that you're going after happens to be Justin Gates, because he's the one that calls in and doesn't show up on camera. So here's the deal. Justin travels for his work. Okay. He doesn't always have have everything with him that he might need. Okay. Justin travels for work. So I don't understand what your issue is, Katie. And I asked you this in our private email, but I don't get it, because it seems like you're coming directly at Justin, and I don't understand it.
Guys, I don't want to make this about that. All right.
I didn't want to either, Sean.
Okay, let's not do it here. Denise, you're checking into this, the rules that are out there for our council as far as what they're dealing with COVID everywhere. Let's look into that. Let's see what's happening with that. Let's see if we can bring it back and it's something that is workable for everybody.
I apologize, everyone. Thank you very much, Sean.
Two things. First of all, we do need to let folks get on this.
No,
we do need
let's
to let
bring it
folks
back
get
after
on.
we've taken a look at it and see if we're we're in line with other cities or if we're doing it the right way, or if there's something we can make it work better for everyone. Let's try that first and see where we get. Is that okay, Denise? Is that something we can do? Can you hear me?
Whatever you instruct me, that is fine with me.
All right, that's what I'm instructing. Let's bring it back with some news from other cities, what they're doing, what we hope to accomplish, how we can make this work better for during meetings, and then we'll go from there. How's that sound? Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, we are at the 2020 goals update. So I will hand that over to you, Denise.
Yeah, let me get to my packet here.
Okay.
Okay. So I attached the goals that we approved in April or May, and I just, in each section, I went through and listed things that we had done to obtain those goals per the section. And of course, some of the things in the developing a vibrant downtown, a lot of those had to do with, you know, the events that we were going to have this year, which we haven't had to have. We're still hoping to have some kind of a Christmas tree lighting. So we're hoping things are better, that we can do, if not saying, at least something with that. And I have talked to the chamber about talking to businesses about decorating the downtown, because one thing when COVID started, I read this article about if you haven't taken your Christmas lights down yet, leave them up, because it's kind of, when people see Christmas lights, it brings joy, and, you know, and that during this time, you know, if someone drives down the street and smiles because they see Christmas lights. So we're interested in getting the businesses downtown to all decorate, and we don't know what it looks like yet, but it might be like if the city could pay for half of the price of the lights that go on their building, or whatever. So we're going to be working with the Chamber of Commerce on that for the Christmas things.
I like it.
But I tried to think of everything that we've done for those, and we still have some things lined up to get some of those other goals done. So I'll report on that.
Okay.
We'll have another one in the start of October and see how we're coming along, and then your final one in January. But if you have any questions, let me know on some of those projects that we were doing.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions before Denise departs on that subject? No? Okay. Quarterly financial report.
Okay, and so this is the next thing on your, it took us a while to get this done because June 30th is our close for the year, and we have a lot of things that we have to wait for in July and August to post back to June when it regards taxes and some of our state shared revenues. So we finally got all that stuff done. So as you can see, we ended the year with a very healthy ending balance. We have about $9 million in reserves at the end of the year, which puts us in good shape for the next year. And quite frankly, in good shape to survive the economy the way it is going now. And I tried to highlight the things that were major discrepancies that might need a little explanation. And I put that in the staff report. There were a few things such as in the general fund, it probably was 6 or 7 years ago, we had an abatement where we abated a nuisance on Shafford and spent about $34,000 on cleaning up the property. The inside of the house was like a hoarder had lived there, but a hoarder on drugs. So we had to hire a specialty people to go in there because there were so they couldn't just gather up all the stuff. There was dangerous. They had to go in and categorize it. Anyway, we put a lien on the property and the house finally sold. So we got this 36,000. It was a surprise, but a nice surprise, into the general fund that we weren't expecting. So that's what made that, miscellaneous go up. And then most of the other things are due to plan reviews for subdivisions, our SDCs being up because of our building activity. And then also the Park Capital Construction Fund, we weren't going to start that until this budget year, but we received a grant that we had to do something with it. So we went ahead and opened it last year. It's okay to receive revenue, you just can't spend it without a supplemental budget. So we just received the grant money and it's sitting there and it will be spent when we get a little bit further on the Wade Creek 3 project.
Okay.
But if you have questions on any of the other ones, let me know. I tried to just go through and highlight the ones that were way off.
Well, that's a good one to highlight. I love being in good shape. Considering all the cities and what I'm hearing out there, we are
Yeah.
sitting pretty good. So I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah.
You guys are doing a great job making sure we stay on track. So I appreciate all the staff for that. Are there any questions for Denise before she steps away? No? Okay. Thank you again for that report. That's
you.
encouraging. We are now at the next citizen and community group comment. Sadie, do I have anybody online?
Yep, we have Joel, and then I'll bring in Bill after Joel. So give me
All
one
right,
second.
great.
Okay, Joel.
Hey, I'm here.
Hey.
All right, so I'll try to make this quick. Got a few things on my notes here. The neighborhood watch that's coming up with the Clackamas County and stuff, should we try to work with you guys on that, considering that we're a community watch group and we are registered with the Clackamas County as a neighborhood watch? Should we try to work with you guys on that as well so that we have input from that? Or is that something just for the council and Clackamas County's neighborhood watch only?
I don't know. That's a question for Denise.
Yeah, I'm shooting.
How do you feel about it?
So Joel, when you say work with us, like you want to need supplies or?
Well, I noticed that you guys
signage?
wanted to, I saw Katie unmuted herself there.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I was just going to help clarify. You said earlier during our workshop with Clackamas County Sheriff's Office that we're also going to have a community watch there, or a neighborhood watch. I think what he's asking is that he is an organizer of a separate community watch and would like to participate in that workshop along with the Clackamas County Sheriff's Office and the other community watch. Is that a possibility?
Yeah, so what's going to happen at the workshop is we're just going to have the person at Clackamas County that's in charge of helping watches develop, let us know how they do that and how they go about that. But yeah, Joel, you're welcome to, submit, talk too about what you have done to form your community watch and how it's formed. And like you said, it's probably through Clackamas County, so you probably know the person that's talking.
yeah, we coordinate with her. So
Yeah.
we got a little bit different design than what they got, but definitely. So
Gotcha.
I'll go ahead and plan to be there for that.
Okay.
I'm trying to be quick on everything, so because I know you guys got a lot on your plate. I just wanted to speak to the IT05. I've spoken to a lot of people about that, just in the community, being interactive as I am with the community watch. And I haven't heard one person from our community that yet has spoke to me about it that supports any of the tolls. So anything you guys are sending out to them, know that a lot of the community is not about the tolls. And so we support you if you guys are standing against that just as a community. I also wanted to speak on what Katie had spoken about. As far as the on-camera stuff, as a voting citizen of Estacada, and being in here and just kind of seeing what I would like, I would, as a voting citizen, would like to see everybody on camera. And I had mentioned this to a couple people before about how I'd wish everybody was on there. I know that there's certain extenuating circumstances, but I've gone back through it, and I've been, because I'm planning coming in and I'm running for council and stuff. I want to see what some of the previous cities and I had see council meetings have had in them. I haven't seen, there's been times where I haven't seen different counselors on, and it's been consistent. And so I, as a voting citizen, would like to see all counselors on at all times so that I see who's actually representing me here and that I know that they're representing me as a voting citizen. I just wanted to kind of put that out there. And the last thing was I got a chance to look through the little packet that was sent out to everybody, and I noticed that at the very end of the city goals there, that one of the things you guys had on there was the National Night Out event, which is usually in the beginning of August. And I noticed that it was recommended to get puts off to October, but a lot of what we're doing for the we call it the Back to Blue event for this round, but a lot of what they're trying to accomplish with that National Night Out is actually what we're doing for the Back to Blue event. And so I just wanted to say kind of some of the things we're doing in the community watch and with our events are actually lining up with a lot of the goals that the council's already set. And so I just want to let you know we are trying to support some of those as well, even without even knowing this ahead of time, but we're definitely knowing kind of where the council's goals are. As a community watch group, we'll try to focus on trying to support your guys' goals as the city council, and hopefully you guys can support us in trying to support those as well. So, and I think that's all I had on my notes here. Just want to see if you want to have any responses or anything.
Thank you.
Are there any questions for Joel before I let him go? No? Okay, thank you, Joel. I appreciate your input.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, anybody else on there, Sadie?
Yeah, Bill Highlands is in now. Bill,
Okay,
you can unmute yourself.
Okay, I'm unmuted.
yep.
I was very curious about the $9 million of ending balances. I mean, it'd be sort of neat if there was a PowerPoint slide, saying what they are. It's nice to see all these faces, but when you go to the meetings, there's all that documentation that's behind what's being said. So I was particularly interested in like the ending sewer balance, and then how much the River Mill line is going to cost. They hit a big rock as they entered my property. Crossing the highway was harder. And so I guess I'll ask particularly about the ending sewer balance and what they think the River Mill line is going to set the city back.
Bill, everything is
Okay,
online.
Denise?
Bill, everything is online. You can see the whole packet online,
Okay.
which shows all this. And the sewer, the city has authorized 1.4 million in sewer funds
Okay.
for this project. And if they
Okay.
have any overages, that's for them to take care of. The city isn't going to give any more. And
Okay.
once that is paid, the sewer reserves for sewer SDC will be very low.
Okay.
So, yeah. Right now it shows, I can tell you what it shows right now. It shows a reserve at the end of June of sewer of 1.1 million.
Okay.
And we've spent about 300,000 so far for that project. So it'll take all of that, but we will be getting a lot of sewer SDCs in as this building occurs too. So hopefully it won't deplete it, but it'll take it right down to the nitty gritty.
Well, it potentiates a lot more in time. So you put
Mm-hmm.
1.4 million in and you're going to get a lot more back, and
Yes.
it
Yes,
has its advantages. Okay, thank you.
you're welcome.
Okay, thank you, Ed. Do I have anybody else, Sadie?
Nope, that's it.
Okay. I want to thank everybody for giving us their comments. Now we are at the mayor and council reports. I'll give everybody a chance to speak. So we'll start off with you, Paul. Do you have anything to say tonight?
Nothing further from me.
Okay, great. Kimberly, do you have anything?
Yeah, I wanted to share that I met with a couple of folks from the city or late last week to talk through our diversity, equity, and inclusion programming and what that would look like. We're talking through a proposal to form a committee of community members that would guide this work as an ad hoc community on racial equity or diversity, equity, and inclusion council to help advise the city and this council as we move forward. That would involve our historically marginalized communities, such as our BIPOC community, our Latino, Latina youth, LGBTQ, and our disabled community, and what that would look like. And then we'll be meeting with Cliff Jones later this week to talk through training for staff and city council. So looking to really move a lot of this DEI work forward as soon as we can.
Okay, great. Thank you. Let's see, Katie.
Nothing for me. Thank you and have a good night.
Okay, Jerry.
First, I want to apologize for my outburst. It was unbecoming a counselor, and I should not have done that here. But thanks everyone for coming. Thank you, staff, for all your hard work. I really appreciate it, and thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Again, from me, I want to thank staff. You did a great job presenting tonight. Everything was spot on. It gives me hope when I hear that our city is in that kind of condition after hearing some of the stories I've heard around our state. But I want to thank you for giving me that encouragement. That makes my job a little easier when I think how we're sitting right now. I was a little worried about that. I want to thank Kimberly Abels for getting that together with the groups for our workshop that's coming up when we talk about that, and Cliff Jones and the whole thing. It's great you're spearheading that. I appreciate that. On another note, I understand that passions run high on this council at all times on different subjects of all kinds. And we sometimes want to say things in front of the public. I know, I've been there, believe me, lately, in fact. And I know that it's hard not to say how you feel sometimes, but at the same time, we are counselors and we represent. And we are all one vote, but we represent the citizens who put us here. And I'd like to keep it that way at all costs. So I appreciate all of you for what you bring to the table. And I will try myself to be a better mayor and bring everything to the table. So on that note, I want to thank all of you for coming out tonight and being a part of this. So thank you. You are adjourned.